But thank you for joining me, and
Sure.
congratulations on this latest movie of yours. I thought it was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was great, and I love the role of Paris. And my first question for you, I mean, I'd love to hear about your approach to him, and if I don't know if maybe you were able to draw any sort of personal connections to this sort of complicated character who's very likable, but a lot going on with him.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all. And I guess um the approach, so much of it is like built in the writing in the text, that can go so I feel like unspoken about sometimes in these conversations. So I definitely want to give Celine and Logan their props in how they crafted the script. And he had I had such a clear picture of him, from the first time that I opened the script. Um, so yeah, kudos to Celine and Logan on crafting such a beautifully grounded and honest character in their writing, for across the board, with the whole cast. And then, yeah, it was sort of just, you kind of just build it. I'm not even sure that I fully knew what I was going to do with him when I got there, and it was a few weeks of pre-production, and which I was very grateful for. And ultimately, it informed everything that I established as my foundation, being the community and the environment, and becoming a part of that and really embracing that and leaning into that. And Celine and Logan were incredibly helpful with that aspect of it. They're so passionate, and they're hyper enthusiastic. And they were constantly meeting people every day in pre-production, that they were texting me being like, you got to go like wrangle gators with this guy, and like, you got to, he's an amazing character, like, you got to go meet him and draw from him. So they were like kind of crazy like that, in the best way. But from that, uh, I met a guy by the name of Chaz Warren, who initially took me out on the lake, and um, kind of taught me to drive the boat at first, and just sort of just, it was mostly to hang and just kind of like, the guy's like, so he's so part of the fabric of Caddo Lake and Karnak, and that community. And so yeah, just going at, he and his brother Chaz and Zach, they're just and we just became buddies. And I just started like really going and hanging with these guys, and just, I mean, just shooting the shit, and honestly just like drinking, smoking, hanging on the dock, like doing whatever the hell, we just like kind of just hang, and really getting to know those guys and becoming friends with them and their buddies, and kind of getting to know that community. And it was all really brought from that. Anything that I sort of brought into the performance, came from everyone that I was surrounded by.
Of course, yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. That kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask,
Uh-oh.
how was it kind of navigating the tricky terrain of this, unique production, the cool setting, you have those cool scenes where you're like walking waist deep through the lake, and
Yeah.
with your character's occupation and all that. So curious how that was for you behind the scenes in the moment shooting those.
Oh, it was great. I mean, yeah, just very immersed, in a totally different environment. It does so much of the work for you. Truly, it's 6 straight weeks of being down there in this place, working with these people who, live in the community, and do this on a daily basis, whether it was like days where we kind of were waist deep in the waders, and um, picking trash out of the lake. I was meeting these guys, I was hanging with these guys, so yeah, it was just, if anything, you kind of forget the cameras there when you're the more that you're in that environment, so whenever we were sort of in the swamp, tripping on the knuckles, which is insane, pain in the ass. Our DP, who also operates Lowell, was literally, I don't know how he was navigating the terrain. But yeah, and like no one got hurt, most importantly, and it was just truly immersive and informing, I think, all around for everyone, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And yeah, it's a great end result, and you really feel like you're right there, with you. So it was a
That's great.
cool experience watching the movies.
Right on.
And it's a great serious role for you, but you've done some comedy, great as Dan Aykroyd in Saturday Night. I had to ask about your approach for that character because that was such a great little role for you. And
Thanks.
I was curious what it was like playing a real life comedian, sort
Yeah,
of wildly different role than Perry.
totally different. Yeah. Totally different experience. Yeah, the approach for Dan, I guess, I mean, was just sort of trying to tap into like enough foundational qualities of his, but not too many to be impressionistic, but like enough to really um, to embody him, I guess. And those things for me were sort of his hyper intelligence and how precise he is with his articulate. He's so articulate, and he's so verbose, and he's so precise in his improv. He like never fumbles, he never misses. He's so like inherently kind of like factual and interested. He's like such a curious cat, and he's kind of just floating with this effortless confidence. I sort of viewed him as possessing no insecurities, and yeah, those were kind of the elements that I myself sort of, kind of inferred from his presence and watching his interviews and things like that. And then I kind of just went with those and rolled the dice and hoped.
Yeah, well, it was great. I mean, yeah, that was a great performance as well. So congrats on that,
Thanks.
and
I appreciate
congrats
it.
on Caddo Lake.